how Parliament and debt fit together as a module under DADA. And we thought we'll kick off with questions. Can anybody here define the parliamentary system of their country? What's the parliamentary system that you use in your country?
How it should be or how it is?
No, how it is now. Because I'm sure you know they are different and they all have names.
So ours is bicameral. We've got two houses of parliament, a senate and an assembly. And it's also mixed in that the majority are directly elected, but there are also party lists where you get people that come in proportionally to the seats that their party won.
Okay.
Is Senate also directly elected?
Yes, Senate also is directly elected.
Okay. So give us one name for it. It's called?
Bicameral.
Thank you. So how many Kenyans didn't know that? Because Kenya's now been saved by Jaya. How many? It's an honest conversation. And we'll tell you how, because we are also finding out things as we are forced to pin this to paper with Honorable Chitako. How many Kenyans didn't know what it's called in the room? How many Kenyans are here? And you all knew what it's called? I'm sure you didn't, but it's okay.
We can ask a follow-up question.
No, we will get them in the follow-up questions. Other people, what's the name? Thank you, Don, so much. What's the name of your parliamentary system? Thank you. Yes?
Zimbabwe also operates under bicameral parliamentary system.
Okay.
And the election of Senate?
Yes, we've got Senate and then the National Assembly.
But Kenya Senate, they're directly elected. What about Zimbabwe?
Ours, there is no election.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Shitago.
Senate by appointment.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, if you know the right people, you are in government.
Simple.
And he talked about party lists. Do you also have party lists?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Zim. Other people in the room, what's the name of your parliamentary system? How many other countries are here? I know we have Uganda,
Zambia.
we have Tanzania, we have Zambia, we have South Africa. Who else did I omit, Jason?
Canada.
Yes, we have Canada. What's the name of your... So for the countries that have not been covered so that we don't waste time, do you know it or don't you know it? It's not a crime. We are learning this together, Africans. You know the big thing about us Africans, Don, someone said, if we don't know, we dig ourselves into a pit to hide the fact that we don't know. And then we never come to know because each time we are asked, we dig ourselves deeper and deeper, you know. So not to know is not a shame. There's so much I do not know. There is no way you are going to know everything on earth. It's just accepting that I don't know it, because when you accept you don't know it, then you will know it because you'll make means to know it. So for the countries that are here, other than Kenya and Zim, do you know the parliamentary system? Mm-hmm.
We come from Tanzania.
Yeah.
So we just came to know right now that it's a unicameral assembly. But we just Google it right now.
Okay. I like the honesty.
How does it look like?
Okay. So say it again. What's the name?
Unicameral.
Meaning? They have names because of how they operate.
Yeah. So ours is headed by the speaker, and it's one national assembly.
Okay. It's not actually an answer because most of them operate like that. What's the electoral system? Because what your parliamentary system comes from the electoral system. One influences the other. So in the ones that we have articulated here, is there anyone here where people vote directly for who's going to be president and who are going to be ministers? Is there anyone of the systems that allow that for the people who are in the room?
What for the president, what for the minister?
You vote for the president. Okay. Do we all vote for the president? Is it all countries where you vote for the president, or the party that wins tells you who's the president?
In Kenya, we vote directly.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying Kenya aside. For the others, do you vote for the president, or the party that wins gives you the president? Sorry, ma? You vote for the president. Okay. I just want to fall off the table right now, because you are telling me people voted for the Kenyan president, they voted for Mnangagwa. Okay.
We vote by the announcement.
Two different things. I like this conversation because we are all vibrant. Nobody is sleeping. There's a hand there.
I'm not sure I get your question. Do we vote for the president? Do we vote for the party?
Yes.
The party comes up with a runner who's going to run for the election. And then basing on that, that's who we vote for.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's not like we vote for the party and then they come up with a wildcard or a random name and then we're forced to live with it. No, they will have their pre-elections and whatever vetting, and then they'll come up with a candidate who we then vote for.
It's the same, even us, the party, but it's still the same thing for me, because the party tells you who's the candidate. Because there could be somebody better in that party, even if it's not your party, but because you're a principled person, you know that's the best person, but they don't forward them as the candidate.
When you go to the polling booth, what's on the
Party.
The party.
Yeah.
So the individual is not on the
Well, they tell you it's the face off. So because they've gone and said Ramaphosa is the face off, they'll put him. But during the election campaign, the ANC always falls back on Mandela. So they will blackmail you with Mandela, but they will give you the face of who.
Of course.
Which
Yeah.
is why there's really a difference between Tanzania and South Africa. Because in South Africa, it's the party they vote for. Then even the number of seats they get in parliament is a proportion of the number of votes the party got. In Tanzania, it's different. We vote for the individual. Which is why in Tanzania, we can end up with a situation, for instance, where the individual from party A actually wins the presidency, but his or her party doesn't
Did not
have
win.
the majority
Yes.
in parliament.
Yes, yes. So now my next question is, how ideal would it have been if you had the liberty to vote directly for the president, whether they are in a party or not in a party, or where you had a right to choose your ministers, whether they belong to a party or they come as individuals who just say, my constituents is this.
We have independent candidates.
Yeah, I know. But as long as the party system is alive, what happens to independent candidates? What's your experience? Especially with Zim, and maybe you can speak to it, James.
Yeah, of course. Especially it's a Western Zim. If you are independent, you suffer. Directly. Either you are Chamisa or you are Mnangagwa. Only. That's serious. But even in our previous election, right? We had other political parties, of course. But I don't think anyone voted for them. People were concentrating on two political parties. And in Zimbabwe as well, we have 60 women who get into parliament through proportional representation. If party A gets more votes, if you get more women in parliament who are just going to walk into parliament from the party. So it depends with the percentage that we have. If you have 60%, it means from 60 women, 60% is going to your party, and the rest going to the other party. And independent. Previously, yes, we used to have one independent person in parliament, Temba Mliswa. Yeah, he was trying, but now people are tired of independent. They don't even look at it. So yeah, that's Zimbabwe for us. Yeah.
So I'm asking these questions because we're gonna get to how your electoral system actually encourages or discourages that. You will see that the devil is in the electoral system, and the electoral system determines how your parliament is structured.
Yeah.
That structuring is about power, Nombus. Yeah. The election's about power and parliament's about power. So, having answered that, I just want you to go on Google. I like my aged, my mom's sister, we say mam ngane in my language, small mother. How much did the election cost?
It's never published.
Oh yeah, we'll go with the lie. I mean, it's always underscored, but still it's a big figure if they give it to you. How much did it cost? And if they don't tell you again, we're gonna ask ourselves, why are we not told?
385
Yeah.
$385
million.
400 million.
How much is that in Kenyan shillings? Times for us, please. Around 40 million Kenyan billion Kenyan shillings. Okay, that's Kenya. Other people finding? Just write that 40.
$14.9 billion.
Okay, Crystal is saying it's 40.9 billion Kenyan shillings. Park that figure somewhere, ne? Just write it down for us. Other people, are you getting results? How much did the last election cost in your country? We'll give you a minute because we want those figures.
Zambia, Uganda.
Zambia,
Zimbabwe,
Uganda, South Africa,
Zimbabwe.
Tanzania,
Yes, Canada.
Canada.
616 million, approximately $22.42 per
Total figure, does it give
616
616 million Canadian dollars. 616 million Canadian dollars. Okay. Are you finding Nombuso? 1.6 billion rands. Okay. Crystal, you're writing all of them for us, ne? Other people, are you finding? Yes, ma'am. 1 point? Wait, guys, we are not hearing that figure. But you translated it into Ugandan shillings, so we want that also. 1 point? Ugandan shillings. Okay, thanks for that. Remaining countries, please.
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, Zambia.
It's not published.
Yes. Yes, Candice.
I'm not sure how accurate this is. Zimbabwe, it's
77 billion local currency. Which is what? What's the local currency?
Valueless.
Okay.
It's not even a dollar.
So how do we record it as Zim dollar or
RTGS.
RTGS? Okay. How much in US dollars?
I would disagree with
Yeah.
that value. I would totally disagree.
I
with
also
that
don't
value.
agree.
$0 in RTGS or
RTGS, yeah.
Zim, they use millions.
Okay. All right, we are lacking Zambia. Zulu, help us. I know you're busy with something else. Oh, you're searching. It's not coming up. Okay, Zambia, keep looking. Ne? We will proceed, but keep looking. Now,
Tanzania.
oh yes, Tanzania, you have the number. Don't help them, please.
We can't get them.
Exactly. Now I want those who are not finding, I want you to have a lingering question in your mind why you are not finding it. Ne? Have a lingering question. Yes, Candice? Okay. Okay, Zim got another source, Crystal.
approximately 220 million for the previous election. However, for the just ended days,
Yeah, no, it's fine. We can deal with the previous. So that money is in what?
220 million US dollars.
US dollars. Okay.
I will agree with that.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much to keep on searching. I just want you to close your eyes for a second. Work with me. When you ask people to close their eyes in sessions, they still continue looking at you. So I always remind them that your eyes are these two things that are just below your forehead. Just close your eyes a bit for me. And I just want you to, this is This was the beauty with storytelling. That's why storytelling in African settings happened at night, because some things hit you more when they go into your subconscious than your conscious. That's why we ask you to close your eyes. Now, if elections are that expensive, I want you to just take a minute and think, how does that link to debt? Because if they are that expensive, and we know these political parties, because everyone here has said they have party systems which are dominant over your independent candidates. So where does that money come from? Is it given free? If it's not free, what could be the preconditions that it's given under? Could debt be one of them? Could people be asked, we'll fund you for as long as you take another IMF debt? And for South Africa, Nombuso, you don't need to imagine, because the very first so-called democratic government in 94, before it even came into power, Job, because you didn't close your eyes, they went, Mandela and company, Mbeki, Ramaphosa, everyone who's been a governor of our Reserve Bank, Jill Marcus, Trevor Manuel, that cabal, Pravin Gordhan, who's selling off SAA and all our other state entities, all of them made a document for Mandela to sign, and I include him because he's a lawyer, he should have known better, where they took a loan to offset the apartheid debt. I mean, that's debt that was taken to shoot people, to keep people marginalized. Debt that Nombuso touched on, it was taken to fund white farmers. We decided before we could even, as a baby, open our mouths, we couldn't even walk or crawl, we already were indebted. We took a huge debt to pay the apartheid debt. Now I want all of you to imagine in your countries, if elections cost this much, the last one, how much of it is linked to debt?
Well, maybe even before they respond,
before you open your eyes.
Yeah, before you open your eyes, I'll give you Zimbabwean context as well, where the government borrows for the purposes of election, and normally they take advantage of the Chinese. You know, Chinese are ready to recolonize Africa, and anyone who asks for money from China, they are ready to give, with so many conditions. Even now, our government borrowed money, which they wanted to pay the former farm owners, who they disposed of their farms, which are the white farmers. They promised to pay them, borrowed the money, did not pay. They squandered the money, you see. So borrowing for election is real, and that is also exacerbated our debt in our country. Yeah.
Okay, now we can open our eyes and see if we imagined far. Did you find things in your country that link debt to elections? We must still link debt to the electoral system. That's exercise for later. Just at face value, like we've done with South Africa and Zimbabwe, can you link debt to elections? Yes.
I think something just crossed my mind. Looking at the 40.9, the supposed 40.9 billion, which I think is something that has been reduced. You look at that money, and a huge chunk of it went into the election technology. And the election technology is not Kenya. So, to me, I feel like some of these, the funders give this money, but with a condition that we will pay for the election that we will provide, for the election technology that we only can provide. And it is a very big issue even in Kenya now that we can't even audit the election servers because we don't own the rights to those technology. The servers are, I don't know, in France. And so it is, if the technology is not ours, and we are spending that money to pay for that technology, it means it is the person who has given the money taking back the money. And then we are left with a debt that we need to service.
So can we link it? Because I don't like disjointed sessions. What you've just said to me, how do you link it to what Crystal and Nombuso presented? that everything is about culture. So why have they ensured you don't own the servers? You said you can't do a proper audit. Somebody has ensured that. It didn't just happen.
And also, why do we accept it?
Yes.
Because, like, the general public doesn't make sense about it. There's this perception that West is better, more technically advanced than we are. So we're in safer hands with our servers in France than if they were on the continent.
Yes. So can we link? Thanks for that addition, Crystal. Yes,
I
Don.
think in the case of Kenya, it's about the political culture of Kenyans and of the Kenyan political elite. 30 years ago, when we began agitating for a change of our constitution, because the constitution we had plus all the mongrel amendments that had been made to it were not good enough for us. The first thing that Moi told us, you think the constitution is like writing a letter to your mom. It's very complex. We're going to need very well experienced foreign experts to be able to write it. So of course what the Kenyan activists of the time did then is they quickly went and wrote a constitution and translated it to 6 or 7 local languages to say that we've got the capacity. So it's the same thing when it comes to electoral technology. Kenya has and Kenyans have the expertise and the resources to do all these things in-house. But the political elite, because they want to rig, they purport to outsource certain parts of it outside the country, precisely so that they can create that veil of impunity, where when you ask for certain things, they'll say, we got this from out of the country, so we can't get it in the time that you want. Because like the last election, for instance, for the first time, actually everything was done in Kenya by a local company. And then they purported to procure things that already done and purported to give the business to a foreign company so that they could be a front. And these people even flew in and out and so on. So when you ask them, you say it's this company that got it for us. And this time we used a Venezuelan company. So we are going democratically around the world. But actually everything had been done internally, and that's why they had full control of what they had. But now when you ask them, they say the Venezuelans can't give us that thing now.
Yes, Chop.
You know, this is a question I've always asked myself. Why is it that those who want to get elected as president, they must close to elections, before the elections, during the campaign period, they have to make trips to Europe and
Can we all stand? Can we all stand to that, please? Because that's where I'm wanting the conversation to go. So it's a better way than clapping. So when we stand for you job, we are actually saying in Zulu and Xhosa, ungene emxholweni, you are going to the crux of the matter. Yes, we can sit.
Teach us how to say that.
Ungena emxholweni.
That's where the biggest issue, the waste.
So continue. Sorry to disturb you. It just I didn't want that to just fly above people's heads without them registering it.
I personally think that that's when the deals are made, because they now go to the person who elects them. You go there to get validation, and you can also tell with the characters that we see after they come into office. Why would an Anglophone send a police to Haiti, French-speaking country? You know, and why would the US, for example, and this has been done twice, why would you have an Africa climate? Let me use that as an example, where you have presidents confirmed to come, African presidents confirmed to attend, but when the agenda comes out, an American special climate envoy speaks on 4 sessions, and African presidents are not on any session. They're coming to listen. Why would you give an American company the consultancy to design an African summit? And so such kind of examples, it starts from that time that they go to Chatham House, a script is written, they are given, it's normally in Africa, it's mostly the Tony Blair Institute to manage your PR once you come into office, to legitimize your being in office. And if the people are rejecting you, they'll organize a number of other leaders to visit you. Just confirm that you have that. So it's happening quite across the continent. When you look at how HH, for example, in Zambia started, when he came into power and what he's projecting now, I think, I know now, I think jogging has been banned in Zambia.
Serious?
Is it true that has jogging been?
So the former president has been jogging a few people. So they're saying it. They're telling him that no, I'm doing political things. If you want to jog, you need a police friend.
Oh, what? Wow.
The same thing that Museveni was doing with the opposition in Uganda. He banned walking. So certain people. Yeah. So we need to start asking ourselves and questioning why our leaders go to the US, the UK to give those speeches and meet a number of people. What do they sign?
Selling their souls.
So this conversation, yes, I've seen this conversation is linking back to culture as the center of it. So Job and Donald, because you raised this, if they go for that external validation, they are safe. It doesn't matter what we feel about them, ne? But also, what's in it for the external validator? I think that's what we need to come to, ne? After he has spoken. What's in it for these external validators? Why is it so important for them that they get their people there? Okay?
That's exactly what I was saying.
Ah.
Validation. You started by saying what was the costs of the election, but the cost was just to conduct the election, to give that veil of legitimacy to the process. But that's not how much it costs to actually get elected with the promises made. As mentioned, we want to ensure that the people outside can actually give their imprimatur to the democracy behind the election, so that after that we can get what we want. So that cost is just the costs of transparency. With that veil of legitimacy.
Yes. So what's in it for the legitimizers? We all agree the legitimizers are not within our countries, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, so to people say Tabadima Song, so I work with the eyes. So if they are not, they're external, what's in it for them? Why should anybody care how elections turn out in Niger? Okay, this hand was first, then I come to you. Was your hand up? Oh, it was your hand, sorry. Yeah.
Actually, I just wanted to build from what he said about Zambia. So I think, you see, like, so for the Zambian case, looking at the strong relationship that the previous government had with China and the various happenings at that time, I think during the period of election, there are some strong, I don't want to call them rumors, but there are some strong pointers that suggest that there was strong presence of the Americans in Zambia during the time of the election, such that even at the time when the then government shut down internet facilities, they still had access secretly to perform whatever they had performed, and when they were satisfied, they quickly left, such that after the presidential results were announced, they started working towards establishing a presidential delivery unit under the office of the president, run by the Tony Blair Institute, like you have said. So I think those are some of the questions that we tend to ask. Why the Tony Blair Institute, and then why the strong president? I think it was also evident when the president won, his first international trip was to the United States. So I think what is in for them? That's a very relevant question.
What is in for the external validators? Your hand was up, then I see yours, ma'am.
For Zimbabwe, we had an interesting case.
last year, this year, the case of the gold mafia, the Al Jazeera. So when the government tried to explain it away, they were saying we must balance for trading on the international platform. So we have to trade with those together. So we're talking with other guys is that why the opposition are trying to put up like 60 government. And we're thinking it's because they are not in place with those validators, as we say. Like he said, there is a cost of a facade of transparency. But the people who really run and get to decide are those benefactors of natural resources of the ground. Because they depend on the incumbents staying in power so that their deals are not disturbed. And when you try to come in as an opposition and you are not in bed with those people, they'll do whatever they can just make sure the status quo is.
So if I follow what you are saying, and it's such a legitimate one again, I think we should stand for him for that one point to ensure the status quo, that there's no change, no disturbance. So the status quo is maintained. Okay. Yes, Krista. I'll come to you. Her hand was up first. No, he's saying.
So I was looking for the phrase that you
ungene emxholweni.
My point is very similar to his, but I want to push it further, where you ask what's the benefit for the validator, external validator, and beyond keeping the status quo, it's really protecting the interests that they have had in the continent, especially in our countries, for a very long time. We have to remember and not forget that a lot of these countries that external validators grew their economies through the extraction from the continent, and so they have to keep that going. So when I'm thinking about it from electoral financing and how it links back to debt, for me, it frames a new definition of debt. Debt is another form of slavery, because you have the benefactors on the ground, right, who also need to benefit and maintain the status quo. But the more these external validators are encroached in our system, especially the electoral system, they continue to hold a grip and a hold on us. So we kind of continue in slavery to debt, but we don't mention it that way, so it's also becoming unknown. So for me, it's thinking about how exactly are we defining debt far away beyond just the monetary debt. And I'm linking that to the fact that you asked us to Google how much does elections in our country cost. That is monetary. Beyond that, there are costs that are not specifically linked to money or currency or value.
So we're gonna stand for you.
For sure.
Yes, because you are linking a very important fact that Candace has touched upon, that the external validator needs to make sure that the status quo is maintained. But you've actually articulated that the status quo is slavery. Now, while standing, I want you to close your eyes again. I work a lot with eyes, so you will forgive me. Yeah, eyes are the window to a soul and to the brain, by the way. So I want you to imagine for yourself the actual reality that we live as Africans. The first thing that Arabs did when they descended upon us in 639 was to run a slave trade, for those who are not aware. We call it the Trans-Pacific slave trade. It took more women out of Africa than men because they were using women in what they called harems as sex slaves. The men they sterilized on the spot so that you don't impregnate their women for whatever chance, but men were actually used as guards in those harems. Now, when Europeans came 9 centuries later in 1400, the Spanish and the Portuguese first, thank you, they did the same thing. First a slave trade, then colonize, then we are now in neocolonialism. Now imagine for yourself and give yourself the answer. Did slavery actually end?
No.
Because I know we normally say colonialism didn't end, but colonialism was itself a better performed form of slavery. So did slavery actually end? Crystal is saying no. Crystal, please tell us why. You can open your eyes. Just tell us why. We're going to stand for about 1 or 2 minutes because it's getting hot. So I don't want you to sleep.
the patterns of extraction remain the same. So even in monetary terms, slavery has been costed at the minimum wage of the U.S. currently at $97 trillion. That doesn't take into consideration other things. It also doesn't account for women's labor in all of that. If you look now, all our countries, and I think Arienu has just done a thesis on domestic migrant workers being moved from Uganda to the Arab states, in collaboration with the state of Uganda, but it's their second highest commodity trade, for almost nothing. It is a form of modern day slavery. Our resources, our people, whether in terms of labor or expertise, there's a continued pattern of extraction. You can call it all these flowery terms, but at the basic level, it stays the same.
It stays the same. Okay, we can take a seat. Yes, Job, as we sit.
It's a global level that's also contributing to that situation. We are borrowing to invest in education, to train for the West. My president, I think it was yesterday, just announced that he's negotiated with Google, Apple, for employment of supply about 200,000, 300,000, which is a lie. But look at living in a country where a president comes to flag off nurses to the UK, and how much it has cost to train those nurses. Possibly you incur the debt to do that training, to train that one nurse that you're now flagging off to the UK. It's a form of slavery, but also, the cost of training the people we are flagging off is just beyond the domestic workers.
Thank you so much. So, can you draw the line? I'll come to you. Thanks, Honorable. Can you draw the line then between slavery as having mutated to colonialism, as having mutated to neo-colonialism, which is actually cultural and economic slavery? That's how we define neo-colonialism. Can you draw the line between the three and that? Because remember, the aim of slavery was for the enrichment of the West, the actual human to human. When their conditions changed, they were moving from more agrarian-based to industrial-based. They no longer needed the human power at the mass need that they needed as slaves. Now they needed the raw minerals. So now we entered colonialism, because colonialism was about nothing but extraction. They don't want to extract anymore with you toying and cursing them and burning them at stake. Because I'm just imagining the tire that we used in South Africa to burn informants. They could have been caught in that if they still practice classical. So now they want to withdraw to safety. Now they want to leave your governments to govern this nonsense. But the end game, as Crystal says, as Joab said, as every one of you are saying, is still the same. They still want access to these minerals. That's why now it's neo-colonialism. Neo in Latin means a new way of. So are we beginning to draw in our minds then the parallel that as we shout, Parliament must that, and Parliament must that, and Parliament must that, I hope we are aware Parliament is itself part of a cultural design intended for what Kendon said and what you added to maintain the status quo for economic enrichment of another continent other than ourselves. Okay? Your hand was up.
Yes, I think you pretty much summarized very well the 2 points, but I wanted just to also add on to supplement what you said, that the act of colonization started off with conquering lands. And way back, of course, when you conquer, it means you have to capture the place and you have control over it. And this is from the thirst for power. The more you have, the more you're perceived to be powerful. So, of course, over time, they had to change their tactics from conquering, just let's say invading and just taking it outrightly, and to what you said about legitimization. That's why you find, to this day, they usually define a place to be strategic to them. Understand? Like they say, Nairobi is a very strategic location. It
because of, I don't know, ease of access and everything, but it means they have particular interests of which they have power of, but not directly as we used to assume they come and just capture and fight and kill everyone and take control. But now they use it strategically, like you say, through processes.
Thank you for that.
I think
Yeah, the last one on this, because I want us to move to.
you mentioned how Africa was conquered in the past, and I think the latest reconquest of Africa is this debt issue. And what debt does is it automatically turns you a financial slave. Because even in the simplest of situations, if I owe you some money and I see you, the first thing I'll remember that I owe you.
Yes.
Before I remember even anything else, it will be I have her money. So I think that is what is being done, especially by the Bretton Woods organizations, that is IMF and World Bank, and also even the Chinese. What they are doing is they'll give you the money and they'll maintain their presence there, so that when you see them, you remember. And it reminds me of this book by Harold Lasswell, which says who gets what, when, and how. And I think the allocation of values, even in this world, even in terms of politics, the way you started, it is just their way of getting Africa, but the means now is through capturing the leadership. And I think it is just the old model of indirect British rule that is being applied across Africa. It is the indirect rule. Because yes, you vote, but it is not your vote that has elected that person. Yes, you call them your president, but it is not your aspirations and wishes that they pursue and push. Which means it is still the indirect rule of colonialism, but now with an economics level.
Yeah, itchy. No. I like this session because nobody's sleeping. Okay.
If you itch, you talk.
Crystal said that one of the assumptions was put in the tent was that debt is a bad thing, right? That was one of the assumptions. And for me, just hearing this conversation, debt is a good thing if you can pay. The moment you cannot pay that debt,
You become a slave.
you are a slave. And for the longest time until you can pay. And remember, it also accrues interest. That's my area.
Awesome.
So my itch, from what we are saying, is
John is itch too.
to the, yes, I'll come to Don. So to the external validators know that we can pay, and from what he just said, that because we can't pay, it starts affecting us psychologically, that we're a basket case. But do they also know that they can't pay will mean we remain perpetual slaves? It's a question I want to stick in your minds from what you've just said. Okay, you have an itch?
And I was just going to say that, to add to what the sister said, when you said that debt is a bad thing if you can't pay, I would only add 2 words at the end. For some.
Yeah.
Because even the US can't pay its debt.
Oh, yes.
And it's not a bad thing.
Can we stand? Can we stand? John, while we are at it, because it's a figure you and me know, please let us know how indebted is the US government currently. The figure was released even last week.
Well, I'm not good with figures.
They are sitting at what? They are indebted. They are sitting at what? I know it's in trillions. How much? I think last week it was a 33 trillion US dollars.
They're comfortable.
But your currency is still linked to how good the dollar is. I want you to see the criminality here of what ultimately makes us a basket case. Through debt and illicit financial flows, what Zulu will cover tomorrow, I won't be here. Your currency and my currency is linked to a currency which is in debt by 33 trillion. Continue, Don.
So that was my point. There's some people who can owe, and it's not a problem. You know, and there's some people who you barely owe, and you're being told the world has come to an end for you.
Okay, thank you.
Africa's friend. Everything.
So, we went through all of this with Honorable Chidagwa because we wanted to show you that everything is cultural, as they said. Being cultural as it is, everything is political because politics is part of culture. Culture is a way of life. So the aim of this whole thing is for Africa to continue to uphold the dominant discourse. Europe is richer, or the West is rich, because when we say the West, I hope you are aware, in political science, we mean Western Europe, Canada, the USA, New Zealand, Australia. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. Yes. So it is intended to uphold that discourse. They are better, they are more developed, they know how to run countries, their populations don't suffer as us because their governments don't steal. And for all of that to happen, we need to be the funders of that lifestyle. My sister's son lives in Switzerland. He was married to a Swiss woman, and I told him, even before, you're gonna divorce, and it did happen. Anyway, he lives there now. And each time he's flabbergasted and he tells me, oh, you know, everything works. I say, yeah, it should work. They're a tax haven. They're thieves. I am yet to see a thief, Don, that steals at millions, struggling. I mean, they're not common thieves. They are not pickpocketers. They are organized thieves. So the system should work. If it wasn't working, we would ask ourselves what's wrong with them.
Geneva can't dig a subway system.
Just speak that louder.
Geneva can't dig a subway system because they've got 7 layers of bolts of wealth underground. So they can't even dig a subway for themselves because they're sitting on wealth.
They're sitting on wealth, exactly.
Literally.
They work half day for those who are not aware. They don't have, no, they don't. They don't have an 8-hour working day. For civil servants, it's a 4 to 5 hour working day. So they can be at home with their kids while we can't. We pull 12-hour shifts just to make ends meet. Yeah, even 20. Anyway, now that we have that background, we want you to break into your countries. In the end, Honorable Chidago will bring all of this together as in what really is a parliament and how does that really go on in parliament. For now, we want you, because when Jason created data, we all agreed that the politics is what holds everything together. And as I said in the morning, we were worried how Europe has been producing fascist leaders. You're aware? Europe's gone past producing pan-European leaders. They produce fascists who are downright for Europe and anything else can go and die. We can't even produce Pan-Africanist people. You know Pan-Africanism, they looked at me odd on Friday. Crystal, I was talking in an event in Freedom Park in South Africa. And I said Pan-Africanism itself is so weak. I don't understand how it died. It doesn't threaten anybody. That's why it's even taught at varsity. Because Pan-Africanism was a reaction to colonialism. It's not Afrocentricity, the two are not the same. But weak as it is, it does not even survive. We can't produce Pan-African leaders. So the whole point of this session is to make you realize we need to come together so that we are able to beat Europe at its game. They come united. We come, if you studied in Geneva, you come with a Swiss perspective. If you studied in Italy, you come with an Italian one. If you went to Makerere, it's a Makerere, and it depends in Makerere who funded your actual cause, because sometimes they fund causes directly. So we are so disjointed in our thought process and analysis, and we need to forge one, I think, which is why for me data is so crucial. So having done that, we want you to break into countries. I hope there's no one who is singular in their country. And we want you to look at practically now. Take the frills and everything aside. Practically, how does your parliamentary system encourage that? I'm not going to phrase the question in an open-ended and say encourage or discourage, because we are all indebted, so we know there's no discouragement. We know there's encouragement. How does your system encourage? I'll give you just a little bit of taste of what I want you to get to. The South African system uses what we call first past the post. It's a single member plurality, which means the party that wins calls the shots. So in South Africa currently, even if all opposition voted together, they cannot outvote the ANC. So all chairpersons of committees are ANC. The speaker is ANC. In the legislative house, the provincial legislature, it's the same thing. With the municipal elections, they've been disrupted. Now that's why they need coalitions. But when the policy is made, they cannot outvote the ruling party. So your ministers are all ANC. They'll decorate with one or two, but they would have made sure that that party is in their back pocket. So under that situation, obviously you should know when they go and take debt that is unconstitutional, they speak amongst themselves and they bring it to parliament to be debated. In South Africa, we have a term for it. We say opposition talks until they are blue in the face. And in the end, the speaker says, now we shall put it to vote. And then obviously the majority wins and he says, oh, the A's have it. And if they think they want to show you there's real democracy, they will say, okay, vote now, we'll count the votes. I mean, we know even before they do. So in such a situation, truly, it is hard because there's a lot of secrecy around debt, isn't it, Jason? Half the time we find out after. You know how many loans were taken by your countries during COVID? It's mad. I know in South Africa we took about 5. I did a presentation on it. I think there are 4 or 5 different institutions we took from the IMF, from the World Bank, 3 from the NDB, the BRICS Bank. Guess what? They were all taken for the same thing. That's what kills me. The reason was the same. And I mean, COVID lasted about a year. So how do you in a year need 5 different loans for the same reason? It means when you take the other loan, you have not even begun to spend the previous one or to even say how it shall be spent. So now I want you to break into countries and look at, that's why I'm giving you this direct example, because I want you to be very practical and not technical about it. How is the way your parliament is constituted currently encouraging debt? We had prepared a clip, but we think it can be sent to you. There's a Mzungu that did a very nice 10-minute presentation on the various parliamentary systems. He tells you, this one is this is the downside, this one. And I think I want to post this for you to do that for your country. Look at what are the disadvantages of your parliamentary system. In a way, I've gone through telling you what the disadvantages for ours are. Because it means you can have a majoritarian party like we've had for 30 years, which is where Africa was before. It doesn't change. And because they are there forever, they begin to even tell you things like, we will rule until Jesus comes. Yeah, that's what the ANC said, actually. We'll rule until Jesus comes. So that's the downside of first past the post. So look at yours and tell us, please. So let's break into countries. We give them how long, Honorable?
Now it's 1.
Now it's 1. What time is it now?
So maybe 15.
Is 15 okay, Jason? Okay. Yeah, we give you 15 minutes.
Can we adopt new countries? The Kenyans are so many.
You're right. You're right. You can, especially from a legal background, you can assist other countries. Yeah. Come, guys. Otherwise, lunch is gonna get cold. Get into your countries quickly. I'm coming to you. Get to the point. Yes, let's start with Kenya.
Thank you. I'm representing that great Republic of Kenya. But of course, the country is in agreement that our parliamentary system has aided or has facilitated debt. And these are the reasons that fellow Kenyans do. One is the weak oversight mechanism, which...
Just a second. I think this is a very important part of the conversation. So Jason needs to come back in.
He's negotiating
yes.
to finance 2 of the dams that...
Yeah.
Stop negotiating with Canada.
My fault.
Yeah. Okay, continue. Sorry to disturb you.
Well, so thank you. I think one of the reasons as to why my team felt our parliament encourages debt is the weak oversight mechanism, which is not very clear. There are cases that they have cited that there are times that Parliament approved a budget of 300 million, but the executive went ahead and took a budget of 800 million thereabout. So the weak oversight mechanism is one of the gaps. The second one is secrecy. There's a lot of secrecy. Our Parliament is not very open, so that some information or data cannot be found. So this also means that there's a lot of things that happen behind the curtains. What we see is not what is actually happening when they are passing. Then the issue about party positions, of course, you are a member of Parliament of a ruling party which is has the president as the leader of the party, and you're expected to still oversight on the president. So it becomes a bit difficult. So that separation of roles between Parliament and the independence is also a question that makes it easy. Then the issue about conflict of interest and the budgeted corruption also comes in, because now Parliament is the supreme budget or budget making organ of the country, and every budget has to go through Parliament. And so there's some aspect of budgeted corruption that is foreseen in the future, that if this goes through, then there's some gains that we will get at the end of this whole process. Then of course they have also mentioned about reforms. Some reforms have been made by Parliament that have been aimed at weakening or increasing debt for some of the activities that used to happen, even through the education curriculum, have been ejected from it. And so in a way they are weakening the kind of information. And you see information.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you for time because I think we got enough from Kenya. I just want to bring it back to Dawn and say, Dawn, they've given us the examples and very legitimate. Does now the type of the electoral system encourage that? That everything they just recounted, if the electoral system was different, could some of everything he counted be mitigated?
I would say so.
Okay.
I would say so. I would say that it looks like now, and even I, to be honest, hadn't thought of the depth with which we are taking this conversation. But it looks like we've ended up with parliaments that are performative.
We don't have time. We don't have time to stand, so we can do this.
So there's something there, and a lot of rigmarole is created around, and a lot of razzmatazz and a lot of paddling.
Yeah.
But really, in the end, these people don't really seem to have power, or to be able to take power, assume power, to do a lot, or on the most important things. That's why then they'll do a lot of performance around LGBTQI and make us huff and puff about it. But they're not going to address this because they have no power or no patience.
Yes, thank you, Don. That was Kenya. Who else is Ichi? Who else is Ichi? Yes. Yes, Ranga.
So in our bubble group, there's a point that is mentioned by Emmanuel that conversations on debate, they are not taking place in the parliament. So parliamentarians directly been talking about it. Of course, we find in the budget statements the issues of debate, but this proper conversation saying we really need to borrow or not. This is not happening. So most of these decisions on borrowing they are done by the political bureau. This is just a small group of these big elites within the value structure. So those are the people that make decisions. And then these decisions are brought to the cabinet and then to the parliament. So in the parliament, we have a majority system parliament that the majority of people from a certain party, they have the power to make or influence decisions. So it also the issue of the whipping system. So this ruling party has the majority.
So we need to do this, and then if you don't know what's the whipping system, please ask us during lunch. Very crucial.
So because of the whipping system, some of these parliamentarians, they don't say no to what the ruling party says. So they just agree for fear of being whipped or being recalled from parliament.
So again, I say, Honorable Shidagwa, because it's your country. So your system is the same. It's majoritarian, but first past the post system like us. So would you say, Honorable Shidagwa, like Don answered, some of the problems that Ranga just articulated, if the electoral system was different, could some of those problems be mitigated?
For sure. Because what we see is a cartel controlling the Politburo. Few members of the Politburo, it's not everyone in the Politburo, because Politburo is appointed by one person. And so there are few members in the Politburo who are part of the cartel, people who control our leadership. And from there, there's just an instruction in the Politburo. In the Politburo, there's no debate. They don't debate. They're just told what to do. And from there, they come to Parliament. Parliament, even if they come, well, at first, in the first place, there was never at one point in my parliamentary service that I saw a minister coming to Parliament to seek not condonation or even to discuss about just contracting debt. Never. But we saw them come. I saw them coming with seeking condonation after contracting debt without any explanation as well. What they've used for with the debt. How much was collected, how much was used, how much is left, even to bring the audited account of that debt. There's nothing like that. So in Parliament also, because it's about majority, and if the opposition, well, we can debate, you can argue, you can do what until the speaker says it's enough. And after that, what happens? After giving all your evidence, good research, good debate, the speaker says, let's go and vote. Because you are two people short, you will lose. Even one person, you will lose. And after that, the whole nation is at a loss. And it is happening.
I think just to talk about South Africa, we have a very similar problem.
Can we hear Nombuso? Okay.
We have a very similar problem. Firstly, we have this constitution that has been voted as the most, exceptional, brilliant, and cleanest constitution in the world. Yet it's the same constitution that has kept the separation between the political elites and the economic elites. A constitution that literally encourages and creates the conditions for illicit flow of funds for tax injustice. Within just the framework of the constitution, and therefore even our electoral system and the setup in Parliament, which is just based on the majority, encourages a lot of what's already been said. There's secrecy, there's no transparency, and it's really just about how much money you have. So the political parties of the ANC, which is the ruling party that has access to a lot of funds, people can be bad. The more money you have, the more you can speak, and the more your voice matters. Even within the committees that we have, those committees, the decisions taken there, this could be of the committee. We can talk, like you said, talk, and the decisions already been made. And some of these decisions already come from some of the morning meetings that the ANC holds every single morning. There's a meeting where it's the ministers or the chairs of these committees, where they set the agenda of where the decisions are moving in that day. So in spite of what anyone else in the room might be thinking, and how they want to shift the power around the room, it's not possible. Because even when you go to vote in the National Assembly, you will always sway in the ANC side because of the setup of our electoral system. So there have been people. So
I'm also gonna cap you there. I think we get that picture also. Like I kept him because I'm worried about lunch. You want her to finish?
No, I don't know. I just want to say something. There's also another fact. One, passport to Parliament in Zimbabwe is not academic qualification. It's just a political sloganeering or popularity or if you think you can, you're chosen, you can go. So the challenge that we face during budget time, there are statements that are in the budget that will then give the minister power to go and borrow, But when you are during debate, a budget debate, it's not even mentioned because it's hidden somewhere. And most of our MPs, they're not intellectually correct. It just passes. They pass the budget. The minister goes and borrows. they cry. He comes to the parliament and read these sections. So no, it's here in the budget, in everyone. You know? So we have a challenge in that if we don't change the way we are MPs in parliament, I will still face the same problem.
Can we do this? Thank you so much, James. So you raised something important. You said the Politburo.
Yeah.
And in South Africa, we call them the NEC, National Executive Committee of the ANC. Can I shock you and tell you that go look at your country? It's not the whole NEC of the ruling party. I'm sure Don knows. They have what the EFF works on top 6, the ANC works on top 10. So for the clever blacks in South Africa, when we joke, we say we are ruled by 10 people. 10 people take the decisions on which debt to take. They agree to the interest rate that will be paid. They see to it how the money is spent. They decide what is to be covered up and what is not to be covered up. 10 people literally. And as James say, I like this, Honorable, because those 10 people, some of them couldn't even be able to spell their own names. But through the party system, they happen to be the top 10 of the NEC. I hope I'm not being recorded. I mean, honestly, because they will take you to court. Not that I'm scared of them. I tell them, but I don't want to be personally taken to court. But I mean, the fact that Fikile Mbalula is a minister in South Africa is just like, wow, my God. We've even nicknamed him Razmata. It's just like, this man is so busy, but I don't know what he's doing. But he's a minister. He's a minister. He can't even give you a concerted speech and stay in the flow, but he's a minister. So we gave you all of this because we wanted you to affirm or disaffirm our approach. So our approach, Jason, in developing the modules was, we want the first module to be introduction to parliament. And the first thing we want to explain there is constitutionality. How's your constitution structured and how does it interact with your electoral system? Because there are many, we swept over the carpet here, guys, and they are not the same. And we want there to do something like the electoral system institutional framework, that's power, representativity, and governance. Meaning, how much does the electoral system encourage citizen participation? And then the third thing under introduction to parliament would be the process of change. What mechanisms for reform and amendment are required? I mean, in South Africa currently, only one party is calling for electoral reform, but it is as equally corrupt. But at least they are calling for it. The question we ask you is, how many in your countries are calling for electoral reform? Because clearly, which is why we did the exercise with Honorable Chitagwa yesterday, is to show you that the devil is in the electoral system. Yeah. For as long as that does not change, we will continue crying about debt and illicit financial flows and tax injustice. So that's the introduction, Jason. And then the second one, which now is the more technical part, is parliament and debt. So we want to look at the relationship between the electoral system, the political process, democracy and debt, the dynamics of public debt and democracy, and the effect of election on debt servicing and secrecy. But we are not done. By the way, we were still working on the module part. This is the approach we just wanted you to affirm. He's developed a very good concept paper. We thought we're not going to read because it's during the day, but it's there. And we also took from the recommendations we made to the South-to-South dialogue as UPNIFT, where we have gone and said, in how many of your countries, when debt is about to be borrowed, is your Human Rights Council consulted? You know, that's why we formed them. Because they know the state of human rights, what's needed more, how many people are dying in the hospitals, Do we even consider them? Nobody cares. We just, in South Africa, we call them Chapter 9. They're just formed to give a form of democracy. Nobody consults them or cares for them. But imagine if they had to be called into parliament and they had to argue against the debt as the Human Rights Council and say, nobody in Kenya, the human rights does not allow us because of this and this and this. So we raised those things as recommendations. I think they will come into the end. So, my Honorable, do you still want?
Sure. No. Except to say we, like you said, we have a concept note, and we have also compiled some videos so that you understand what we'll be talking about. We have pictures for you to understand as well, and all that will speak to this debt issue. And I think ultimately we need to change parliamentary systems
Yes.
in totality.
Yes.
Thank you so much.